Ready, Sue? All right. I'd like to call to order the Park and Rec Board meeting for Tuesday, March 15th, 2022. Roll call, please.
Mark Castonia. Here. Deb Lunderberg, I'm sorry, is excused. Aideen Hess.
Here.
Chris Zerbel.
Here.
Donovan Miller.
Here.
Tracy Flukie. Here. Heidi Murphy. Here.
Good to see you again, Dean. Dean, good to see you again.
Please stand for a pledge of allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please keep in mind all of our men and women over here and abroad that are serving our country and with all the issues going on right now. Action on agenda.
Move to approve.
We got a
Second.
motion?
I'll
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We have a unanimous decision on that. Comments from the public must be limited to items not on the agenda. Must state name and address, limited to 5 minutes. Board's role is to listen and not discuss the item. Personal issues cannot be discussed, nor individual named. Board is not able to take action at this meeting. Anybody from the public? Nobody here. Anybody online? Nobody that I see. Okay, we'll move on. Written communications, we have none. 7, action on consent agenda.
Make a motion to accept.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Action items. 8A, review and possible action on Smith Park Playground recommendation. Rex?
Okay. Smith Park Playground, the main structure, there's a couple different pieces there, but the main structure is due for replacement. I think the one we have right now, there is vintage about 1990, I'm guessing about 92, maybe, give or take a year, taking a look at the equipment and knowing kind of what was out there at the time. Since that time, there's been a number of changes in the American with Disability Act. A lot of the different requirements for universal access, for accessibility for kids and adults of all ages. And so what we've done, this is a little sidebar here, is we divided, especially for the new folks. So we divided the village up into quadrants. And there's supposed to be, if there's like pieces of, if there's playgrounds in every quadrant, at least one playground in every quadrant needs to be accessible, okay? So in the quadrant that Smith Park is in, Smith Park is the park that's tagged as accessible. That's why we've done additional work in Smith Park, putting in sidewalks to the tennis courts, making the drinking fountain accessible, putting the sidewalk running alongside the picnic shelter, why we have rubberized surfacing coming off the sidewalk going to the 2 to 5-year-old structure that we have there. So it's that's why we have an accessible porta potty up by the tennis courts and a sidewalk that goes up there. So there's a park like that in every quadrant, the way, oops, sorry, I'm using my hands too much, the way we've divided the village up. So as such, when it's time to replace this piece of equipment, the way this was bid out is that we need the equipment to be more accessible than the non-accessible playgrounds in the other parks, which is why on the different pictures you'll see either down here, which you're welcome to go take a look at in just a few minutes. Certainly you've got it on your computers or your laptops, if you were able to take a look at that. You'll see that there's rubberized surfacing. You'll see that there's ramps going up to the first level, maybe even to the second level. It's a little bit different than the normal playgrounds that you see. Now, because of some of these specialized features, unfortunately, this one was not put out to the neighborhood because it would literally need to be a full education session on what the ADA rules and what, different types of equipment and what they do. So This one was done in-house, and the recommendations are in-house. Just because, again, this varies typically from how we've done it in the past. All of our staff have gone to sessions in the past on playground equipment. We've all talked to different playground reps, talked what's out there, and the staff have taken a look at the different boards that are out there, and you'll see there's 5 companies that submitted designs. They were told that we have $90,000 for that playground. We actually have 95, but I pulled out 5,000 for wood chips and the sidewalk that needs to be put in for that accessibility. So that $90,000 needs to cover the playground structure and the rubberized surfacing. All right, so that's what you see on these 5 designs. And again, they were told $90,000. Maximize the amount of equipment that you get for $90,000. So quite honestly, if someone put down $80,000, that's probably at least 3 or 4 play panels or a slide or 2 that could have been put in. All right, so but there's different ways to take a bid on that. Someone's hoping that, quite honestly, that, you know, by being a couple $1,000s less, that they're going to get that bid. But in actuality, they didn't maximize the amount of equipment and features that they could have put into that playground, because that's what we have. So that's typically how we bid our playgrounds out. We have a set number and say maximize the amount of features or amenities that you can put into a particular playground. So looking at the 5 different diagrams here, again, it's a combination of accessible and the old one that we're taking out is for the 5 to 12-year-olds. So we wanted it to be a little bit of both. We wanted it to have a couple levels of accessibility. We also wanted it to be interesting to the 5 to 12 age group, which is a little bit more adventure type of a thing. You know, danger, risk, however you want to put it. That's what the kids like to do. That's what we talked a little bit about in the bid spec. Certainly that's what I talked with all the playground reps with, either on the phone or the majority of them were able to come to our state conference just 3 weeks ago. And I met with them in person at the office as well, a number of them. Some more than others, and I think that maybe is reflected a little bit in some of the designs that are out there. There's 2 things we're looking for. We're looking for the 5 to 12-year-old section of it. We're also looking for, because it's an ADA park, we're looking for that accessibility, the ease of accessibility, ramps, play panels, other features that certainly could be used by anyone with either physical or cognitive challenges. And I think a couple of them did a really good job on that. I could go on, but I think the best thing for me to do is to say at this point, there's 2 that staff have looked at that we're recommending to you for a decision. I can make a decision, but I don't want it to be Rex's decision. It should be the park board's decision. So staff-wise, the 2 that are recommended are the design from Northland Recreation, which is Little Tykes, and the design from Minnesota, Wisconsin Playgrounds, which is Game Time. That's the manufacturer's Game Time and Little Tykes. If you would take a look, and I'll quick say why. Both of them have a nice 5 to 12-year-old element. I think you're getting a lot of equipment for the dollars. It's spread out, so there's going to be a lot of kids that can play on it for all ages. The Little Tykes Playground has a single large rubberized area coming off of our sidewalk with play panels actually on the rubber. And they have, I believe it's a single ramp up to one, I know 1 level, if not 2 levels, that they can, that they can either walk up to or take a wheelchair up to. The Game Time board has 2 rubberized areas, smaller than the 1 larger one that Little Tykes proposed, but they have 2 ramps, so 2 rubberized surfaces that the kids can come off of, 2 ramps that go up each onto its own, slightly elevated play structure or pad platform with play panels on each one of those platforms. So it's a little bit different. I think personally the Northland Recreation one is the best for the 5 to 12-year-old and the second best for the ADA. I think the Game Time one is first in the ADA for those two, in terms of the amount of amenities on that structure that you can get for them to participate in. I will say the Little Tykes one, if you're taking a look, they do have a little unique feature too. They've got you can see it on the right of the structure. If you take a look at, I guess, the top picture, it looks like a giant egg. And what happens is sometimes kids that may have some cognitive challenges get overexcited, overstimulated with all the activity going on. And that's almost like a little timeout area where a parent can bring their child, put them in that little area, and it kind of shelters them from all the activity that's going on until they calm down. That's what that is, just so you know that is technically an ADA type amenity that should be considered in the whole thing. So I guess what I will do, like I said, I could talk much longer, but I don't want to do that. I'd rather field your questions, comments, thoughts on any, and they're all good. I appreciate every manufacturer taking the time to do that. But staff definitely had their two recommended structures.
Rex, on page 23. On the Minnesota-Wisconsin one,
Yep.
it shows the two side platforms and then the center platform. The ramp going up to the center platform, is that wide enough for a wheelchair?
No. So
Okay.
the two ramps go up to a main platform, which I believe each of those two platforms have a slide that goes down. So each platform would have a slide that goes down. That center ramp has a slight angle to it, as well as some no slip. You can see those kind of squiggly worm, lighter colored tan things. Those are to stop from slipping or sliding. That center ramp is not wheelchair accessible. It would potentially be if someone has a challenge walking, but not necessarily by wheelchair.
Okay.
As far as like quality and durability, is there a difference between Game Time and Little Tykes?
Course a piece. I will say that all of our manufacturers here are great manufacturers. We have structures by every one of these 5 manufacturers in our parks. And there's not been any issues with any of them. I think for the most part, the customer service has been good. We typically like someone that has a rep that's in-state, that is both of which Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Little Tykes are very good in customer service.
And the bids include installation?
Yes, it would, no, it would not. So the installation, actually, our crew is pretty adept at doing it. It includes there being one rep from the playground company, which would be either Northland or Minnesota, Wisconsin, assisting us in a supervisory role if we had a challenge. It saves us money doing it ourselves, and quite honestly, our guys are pretty good at doing it by now. They do a lot of their stuff on their own. We just did Argonne on our own 2 years ago. And that was a fairly challenging one with the ropes and a lot of different things. So there would not be, I don't think, an issue with either one of those. It would be under supervision of the playground manufacturer, though, just in case there was a question on spacing or what goes where or what goes first. Usually once you get the holes drilled and you get everything started, it all starts to come together pretty easily.
Rex, was the Little Tykes the one that you were saying you felt was more ADA friendly? Or was it the other?
They both are in their own way, Chris. I think.
But you referenced something before.
I think the Game Time, having two ramps
Okay.
going up to 2 platforms, each platform has a slide. I think that one probably is You know, again, I'm pairing it also with the 5 to 12-year-old, because, you know, Gerber has a really nice design as well for ADA, but literally it's nothing for the 5 to 12. It's literally all ADA. So you know, and quite honestly, if you are familiar with Smith Park, there's a lot of older kids that hang out there, especially in the evening. So I want to try and keep them, you know, something for them to do as well.
I think it's important too that it is ADA accessible, but doesn't necessarily look like that. Like I didn't look at it and say like, oh yeah, I can put my wheelchair on that. I looked at it and said, oh, my kids will run up and down that ramp like crazy people. So like the fact that it accommodates both, I think is
Correct.
important.
How far could a wheelchair bound person make it on the little tykes? As far as
Well, both of them would probably be, if you take a look at the ramp going to the first platform, they both only, because ADA has different height restrictions, and you can't go up high with ADA. So you can only go, you know, a foot or two above ground level for ADA technically, and then the slides that go down. So not very far. So the ramps would only go to the first level
okay.
if someone was on a wheelchair.
I looked at, the sketch drawing, and it would appear as though you could drive a wheelchair
Yeah.
a long way, which in my thought process was more inclusivity for those kids along the way. Maybe there wasn't as much to do, but they can be chasing their friends or something, but if they can't make it up,
No. So for the ADA portion of the playground, it would only be from the ramp to the first platform that each
Okay.
ramp goes to. And as I said, the two that that staff has recommended, I think have a good combination of both. Because I think you need to take both into account. I will say that both bids also include, all of the bids also included on the rubberized surfacing, we're going to go on the east side of the current handicapped swing that's there. So we're going to run the sidewalk immediately adjacent to the current rubberized pad underneath the swing. And what will happen is we will saw cut the downslope of that pad, which will be right next to the sidewalk, and we'll fill it in to match the grade. So by going on the sidewalk, a new sidewalk, they'll also be able to access the swing, making that swing accessible from both sides.
I did look up searched out this rocker feature in the Burke one. That is a really cool amenity. Unfortunately, I didn't feel they gave a whole lot of bang. Like, that's what you're paying for, I think.
Yeah.
It is really neat, though, the ability for somebody in a wheelchair to rock themselves or somebody to rock them. I thought,
So there's two of them that have the rocker. You mentioned one of them, the Burke one, and then the Gerber one has a much larger one.
that's what.
A lot of people will go with the Gerber one only because of the size it allows, rather than having just the wheelchair person in there,
Friends or something.
and there's no other interaction when they're rocking back and forth. It's just made for the wheelchair, period. But the other one, the Gerber one, you can sit multiple people around it, as well as the wheelchair. So whether it be a guardian or somebody else, or their friend or a brother or sister, they'd be able to use that. Actually, Valley View has that Gerber rocker behind their school.
That was going to lead into my next question is, do we have an amenity like that somewhere? Because I would hate to pass that opportunity up where we put just the same old stuff in another park, but if we have a rocker, and they want to go do that.
Yep, the school does. The Valley View School, actually, when they changed out that playground about 3 years ago,
Okay.
I believe it was, 2018, I think. They put that in, and the rocker was included in that.
Excellent.
Other questions? It's hard, because they're all, each one has fun stuff. It's hard to pick.
Is Titletown, like I know that that's a private whatever, but like as far as ADA compliance and age frame, like how does that compare?
Well, I'm trying to remember everything Titletown has. Titletown's whole playground is rubberized surfacing.
Right.
So it is easy to maneuver
Navigate,
around
yeah.
through it.
There isn't.
Not all of the
They do not
Titletown
have any monkey
amenities
bars.
are ADA accessible. The ropes, obviously,
Right.
may or may not be depending upon what physical or cognitive challenges a person has.
Yeah.
They've got a couple spinners.
Seems like it might be a little bit older, too.
I would say it's more for the older kids.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that the staff did a good job in recommending the two that they did. My first thought was, if we're cutting this into quadrants and we're, having something that's focused on ADA accessible, I'd definitely, at first blush would go with the one that seemed a little more ADA accessible, but they're so close. And I understand Smith Park does need to keep the older kids occupied because of issues in the past. So that's equally as important too. So it's a tough.
Yeah, and really, whatever one we pick, if we pick one of those two, I'm happy with.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm excited that we got a couple of good designs in.
yeah.
Is there an opportunity to get feedback from parents or people with?
Not at this time. If we delay it anymore, I'll be honest, it won't go in this year.
Yeah.
We're looking at a September install due to timing of things right now.
That's one of my vices, is making a decision for,
I know,
You know, like-
and typically, Donovan, we do. I mean,
Yeah.
I've done it, I think, for the last 4 playgrounds we put in, it's been a community
Yeah.
vote type of a thing.
and I understand not, like, the neighboring houses, like, if there's nobody there that would use an ADA, need to use an ADA accessible, but
Yep.
that was just,
I get it.
just like Chris, I value all the research that you put into it and trust your opinions. And it's just me thinking, like, what if I was in a wheelchair
Yep.
or needed a walking aid or something like that. So, all right.
Yeah, I think no matter what we do here, it's not going to be a wrong decision, bad
No,
decision.
we have, and there's 4 parks, so I think,
So, any thoughts? Okay,
I like the Little Tykes one.
okay,
That's my, like,
Okay.
I like that one.
okay. And Rex, yours, if you had your choice, yours was which one? Was it the little?
Either one, Chris. I mean,
No,
I
you
like,
ha- no,
I
you
like
have to pick
amenities
one.
on both of them.
No, you have to pick one. He doesn't, we do. That's why he wanted us.
Do you want,
I have picked, and I've narrowed it down to 2. I've eliminated 3. in
Make that
Rex's- in
motion.
you
Rex's
want to make that
vision.
motion?
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the Little Tykes to go to the board for approval.
I would second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for Little Tykes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thanks, everyone.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
That was the big agenda item for the evening.
It would have been nice to.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, I was going to ask, the quadrants, is that something that the ADA requires our municipality to do, or is that what we did?
Each municipality is required to have an ADA plan as it relates to their park and recreation program. So in each quadrant, like I said, if there's multiple facilities in each quadrant, at least one of those facilities in that quadrant needs to be accessible. All right? If it's a unique facility in the whole village, no matter what quadrant it is, that one unique facility also must be accessible. I'll use the pickleball courts, for example. The only park that has pickleball courts is Fort Howard. Those have to be made accessible, which is why there's sidewalks and pathways to go up into them.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Any unique facility where it's the only one in the village has to be accessible. And then if there's multiple things in a quadrant, at least one of those things, one of those like things in that quadrant needs to be accessible.
What 4 parks are the designated ADA parks?
Let's see, we've got Sand Acres, Ashwaubenon, and Ashwaubenon already kind of is to an extent. Fort Howard, Smith, what did I list here? Sorry. Smith, Fort Howard, Sand Acres. What am I missing?
Valley View.
What's that?
Valley? Is it Valley View?
That's part of the school. Valley View Park? Isn't that part of the school?
No, it's not Valley View, because the school district didn't put on wood chips are technically considered accessible, but only if you maintain them. To maintain them properly for ADA accessibility, wood chips, you probably have to be raking them and adding wood chips every day. So that's why a lot of municipalities will go to rubberized surfacing. You know, something that we could potentially do at some point this year is I can actually show you guys our ADA plan. I mean, really all it is, it's just a sheet for every park. It says what ADA amenities that park has. It says what amenities that park should have. And then your goal as a municipality then is to try and make steps whenever things are either remodeled or new things put in to make sure that ADA is being taken into consideration, especially at those quadrant parks.
Is the playground equipment at Clipstein Park, is that park equipment or is that school equipment?
That's actually park equipment. I think that's our missing park right there, Mark. Because we do have the rubber, we have the ramp. In fact, Tracy put that in back in the day.
Did I?
And we're going to actually do another, we have an electronic playground station that we're going to make accessible off of the pathway we're putting in this summer at some point. So yes, Clipstein was the other one. Thank you. It's like, why
So
couldn't I remember
the
that?
parks again then are Sand Acres, Clipstein, Fort Howard, and Smith are considered the ADA ones?
Yeah.
Or that are ADA
Yep.
parks? Okay.
Yep.
And
But
not
we
Ashwaubenon?
but we also have, like Ashwaubenon has some rubberized surfacing
Yeah.
with the swing set, so we've tried to do, we're not just limiting it to those. We're trying to do others, but technically, we're identifying those 4 as everything that goes in there has to be accessible.
Is there any way, I pulled up the parks map to try and narrow my search down and thinking down. Is there any way to label those on the parks map that's on our website to say these are? Or is that dangerous to do, or?
It's bits and pieces. I mean, we could certainly do that and just make a notation on our parks map saying, you know, these parks have
Like, you could have
amenities that are
Yeah.
more accessible than
a symbol
than
and a
other parks,
legend or
yeah.
something put by that park or something.
I can say none of our parks are fully
100%,
accessible
right.
yet, because there's always things you can do. You know, be honest, we could spend millions
Yeah,
just on making everything accessible.
and I
So,
don't know.
but as long as we're working towards things like this, when we're changing things out and you know, we're doing it incrementally as we're able to do it financially, that's what we try and do.
I just wonder, just throwing the term fully accessible, we may end up in a problem when somebody finds something that's not fully accessible.
A fully
but-
accessible, or I guess there's another term called universal,
Yeah.
a universal playground, would be like Miracle Field in Alloway. You've
Mm-hmm.
ever been over the Miracle Baseball Field? Their playground, their Miracle Baseball Field, that's fully accessible. Everything
Flat as
in that
baseball.
park has been designed for physically and cognitively challenged individuals.
And yet I saw a review that said it wasn't fully inclusive, so. So
Well, you can use the word like friendly.
yeah, so that's
I mean,
why-
without
that's why
having
I
that
say,
debate here, but.
is it dangerous,
Yeah.
you know?
You know, pretty much anytime we put in a new picnic shelter or a new amenity, we're
Yeah.
trying to put in a sidewalk that goes to it. We're always trying to make things more,
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's just for people that have physical or cognitive challenges either.
Yeah.
It's just easier to get to that stuff. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Whether you've got a baby buggy or you're with little kids, maybe, how many times have you walked through, an uneven ground and sprained an ankle? Maybe I just have bad ankles, but that's happened to me a couple of times. So people like having easy accessibility to some of the things that they go to. I think it encourages people to go more often, and with people of different ages because of that. And so I think one of our goals is each time we put in an amenity, whether it be a shelter or a playground or anything like that, even where we're working, with the new bridge going over at Schwabame Creek type of a thing, with the design and things like that, everything is taking into consideration.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, speaking of new bridge, update on Ashwaubenon River Trail pedestrian bridge.
So yeah, enough things have been happening. I thought it'd be good to just give everyone a quick update on that. So everyone knows what we're trying to do. There's a couple things that are happening. Our goal is to have this submitted to the DNR by the end of this month. I think all the structural design is pretty much taken care of. We just finished up the lighting, which is being incorporated into the structural design. And we're working on the plaza area. If you want to take a look on the green sheet, you can kind of see, and this is not the final. There's still one more coming before we submit it. But you can kind of see on the aerial map where you see the water on the right-hand side and the map with the white boxes. So that's roughly where we are right now. The black lines is the trail that's going to be coming off of the bridge. That's going to be the 10-foot wide path, okay? And that will be going eastward towards the north end of the lake parking lot. That's going to be the trailhead for this phase. Off of the main trail, as it hits Ashwaubenon Park, you'll see like the red lines. That's a smaller trail. That will be going along the water. And our thoughts are to have a small, like a little mini Half Moon Plaza area where people can stand and look out over the water. That's where some of our interpretive signage will be. And then we'll also have a couple spots where there are permanently, we'll have some concrete slab offshoots off the trail with picnic tables and or some of those swinging benches that we've got. We still have a couple of those in storage that we've been waiting for this project to eventually develop, and now's our chance to use them. We've had those for a couple of years waiting for this, actually. So that's where we are with the plaza area. It's kind of hard to see, but on the very top where the bridge goes from the water into the park, and you'll see where the red line goes immediately down along the waterfront. To the left of that red trail, you'll see three red lines kind of like shooting out almost like a fork. That's the downslope. That's on the downslope of the trail, because the trail is, going to be 10 feet high, so when it hits that Schwabame, it's going to slope down into the park, and there'll be a little bit of a grade change. Those three tines that go off of the trail will be long type rocks placed in there, almost making like a mini seating amphitheater where people can sit on those and overlook the water. So we thought that was a really nice thing to try as well, and see how we think that'll go over real well. Because it's a beautiful view there, of the river in 172. So that is being finalized. On the next page, you will see we had a lot of talk about lighting. What kind of lighting do we want? Do we want interior bridge lighting? Do we want lighting that goes up in the air on a post and comes down almost like a shower head onto the bridge? What do we want to do? And it was decided that we wanted to do similar to what the middle picture is on that page, on page 39, where on the bottom you can see some LED light panels built into the base. And those will be able to be changed colors. The top picture kind of shows what could happen. You can just keep them white, or you can, depends on the holiday or the event or the occasion, you can literally program them with different colors. And those will illuminate the interior of the bridge for people walking as well as biking. And they should also be visible from 172. So we were talking about maybe on the riverside having some exterior lights so that when you're driving over 172, it shows up. We have been told, we're keeping our fingers crossed, that if the bids come in right and we're able to keep these kind of lights, that those colored lights will be visible from 172, which will be kind of neat too. It'll definitely make that area pop as people are driving across. The bottom picture is just a real rough idea of the fishing bump out that we're going to have on the bridge. It's actually going to be supported by two of the concrete piers that you see, pilings that you see to the right on that picture a little bit. So it's a little misleading, but roughly that bridge design is what our bridge is going to look like on the bottom. It's the best one I could find at this stage of our design process.
Rex, with that lighting on the bridge, the lower lighting along the surface of the bridge, any idea in terms of any studies in terms of longevity of that lighting? Particularly thinking, I'm assuming this bridge is going to be taken care of and maintained during the wintertime?
It probably will be. We haven't gone that far yet to determine whether or not it's going to be plowed or whether we're going to be leaving it for cross-country skiing. You know, it really depends on what we do with the Ashwaubenon River Trail. It could be plowed as part of that project, or the bridge portion of it could be left the way it is. We're not sure what we want to do yet. That has not been vetted.
Okay, the only reason I'm asking is because that lower lighting would be in proximity to snow and ice buildup with regards to the bridge maintenance, and I don't know if those lights are, how well they're sealed, insulated.
No, it's a good point. Other thoughts, questions? So we talked a little bit about the plaza design. We talked about the lighting, and then you can see the latest and greatest, the updated cost estimate at 1.7. We do have a $350,000 stewardship grant that we were awarded from the DNR. And we are applying for a private foundation grant, which is due at the end of next week, which would help us pay for a good amount of the plaza area.
Has the question of bridge height for boats been solved, or?
So the minimum required height per the DNR is 5 feet over the ordinary high water mark. Obviously, 5 feet sounds, well, that doesn't sound too bad. If you got a boat, that's not enough. So we've actually doubled what is required. In this design, we're going up to 10 feet over the ordinary. So the DNR has come out and they've done some calculations and figured out what's the highest point the water's ever been at. That's the ordinary high water mark. So from that point upward is 10 feet clearance. If the water is low, then for every foot the water is low means there's another foot of clearance on the bridge.
Have the people living along there been made aware of that, what to expect?
So we had some meetings in the fall regarding the whole bridge and the process, and they have expressed their concerns. That's why we bumped it up to 10 feet. Once this is submitted to the DNR, as part of the DNR approval process, we will also be having a public input meeting where any residents can speak in favor of the bridge or against the bridge. And then other governing bodies can determine whether or not we have made enough of an effort to try and satisfy, all sides.
Rex, we have nesting platforms in that particular area.
We have nesting platforms probably about, about 50 to 75 yards to the west.
Okay.
our hope is to get some herons or egrets in there. It might take a while because of the amount of surrounding trees that had to be removed. I want to say as part of the NRDA grant, it's NRDA GLRI, and I think we still have some GLRI funding left. I know we do. So we used that last year. I think we planted about 15 or 20 trees immediately around the nesting platforms to try and, eventually they'll grow to the point where they can shade it a little bit from the interior of the park. That's our hope. And then I think we've got about a little over $3,000 left in funding on that project, which was from like 2017 or 18, and we're going to be doing an interpretive sign with the remaining funding of that, talking about the nesting platforms as well as the fish cribs that we put in the water.
Rex, has there been any discussion on the 172 side of the bridge, putting either Ashwaubenon Park, Ashwaubenon River Trail, or something to advertise that area and have that, or have we not talked about that, or is something you're not interested in?
To put a sign saying that it's the trail where? On
So it's facing 172, so maybe people going across could actually see that it's Ashwaubenon Park or Ashwaubenon River Trail?
That would have to be a pretty big sign. I think it would be very difficult to see.
Yeah, okay.
What is
We
the
probably, eventually we'll be putting signage in the park as people go north. Right now, it's just the signage, as you know, is on Broadway and, by the marina.
What is the northern terminus of the trail? Is that at the marina?
Correct.
And-
We have, there's a couple different phases that will, it all depends on funding and different things. So we've got right-of-way access to go a little bit further to the north onto the Montgomery property. That was all part of that development with the Marriott going in there, the extended stay. And so that would almost bring us to Dutchman's Creek. The challenge going any farther north, obviously, is now you've got Dutchman's Creek. So now you're going to need another bridge. And the challenge with that is it's next to a train trestle, which is still active. Granted, it's just the Railroad Museum's train trestle, but it's still active. So you'd have to, I know there's regulations on pedestrian bridges and how close they can be to different things. And so there's a lot of things that would need to be worked out to keep extending that, which is our hope, behind the Railroad Museum. And the Railroad Museum, depending upon the management, at this time, they are interested in having that trail extend behind their facility. I don't know where it would go to quite yet, because one of our spots from about 10 years ago that we had identified has been built on now. However, phase 2/phase 3 to the south, as I said, it goes to the north end of the lake parking lot. We want to push that trail behind Ashwaubenon Lake. And we want to push it all the way to the fence line at New Water. And eventually we're going to be pushing that, we hope, behind New Water along the waterfront right there and into the Brown County Fairgrounds. Connecting to at least the boat launch is where we think it's going to wind up going to. Now, Matt Creasy, who's the park director and for Brown County, is well aware of this. We've been in several meetings with him, as well as with New Water, so they're also aware that this is coming down the pipe. We want to get the bridge built first, and then the thought is either that when the bridge is having its finishing touches put on it, or immediately thereafter we start applying for grants and talking about the next phase of the project, which would be pushing that. Brown County is actually pushing us to keep going, because they would like to see that trail connecting into the fairgrounds.
Brown County is not concerned that at paying events at the fairgrounds would be susceptible to people sneaking in, so to speak, from the trail, rather than going through the gate? Either we would have, or Brown County would have the ability to
block that trail off with some kind of a gate type of thing, so that would not happen.
I know it's only a few days, but
Yep.
some people,
Well, they have a lot of events there.
yeah,
There'd be a backdoor entrance, right?
yeah.
So, yeah, we've talked about it briefly, but until that time comes, we haven't done any designs or anything like that on it.
Okay, anything else? Questions? All right, thank you. We'll move on to the review of the February and March department reports.
All right, we talked about a few of these things already. Programming, we just got our brochures in today into our office, which means they're at the post office or will be at the post office tomorrow. So probably by this weekend, the spring, summer catalog for all the village services will be out in everyone's hands or households. David Rohrig, our recreation supervisor, we added in 8 more pages this year because of the sesquicentennial, as well as expanded some of the different pages for the other departments. So it's thicker than it has been, which is good. I think people will appreciate that. Food truck rally, we're continuing to work on that. We've assigned food trucks to each one of the 5 dates that we've got. So right now, we're just waiting for payment. The bands are booked. So we're looking forward to those coming up. But returning staff letters, that's the big thing right now, is just with staffing. We've got a lot of jobs to fill, like everybody else in the village, right? Or in the whole Brown County area, United States. More jobs than there probably are people to fill them. So some areas we're doing well in. I think we're pretty good in day camp. We're pretty good in park maintenance. We're good in forestry. We're full, actually. We are very light in parkies. We are light in concessionaire admission people at the lake. And we're about halfway there on lifeguards, which is somewhat concerning. I'm working with administration right now on a couple different potential fixes to that, so we'll see what happens. But Mel has her hands full right now in terms of trying to find staff and get them trained. The good thing is we've got a real good one-on-one relationship with the high school, with our coaches, with the PE teachers, where she's actually doing lifeguard training classes as part of a sports training class. And so we're slowly working our way towards there. But wages, you can see, are going up across the board. You know, and other places are, there's only one, other than the new ones that are out there, which there's just not going to be enough, is our job is to try and not have our lifeguards stolen from us that we've already got. So we'll see what happens.
Are those staffing positions available to students only?
No, we'll take it. Anyone who's interested in guarding, whether it be, I mean, we've got 16, or excuse me, you can take the lifeguard training course at 15. So, and we've got some very mature, good 15-year-olds that were out there last year. Would expect to have a couple of them this year. And as long as they're able to complete the lifeguard training course and the in-service training that we do, we would take any age.
But not all the positions are lifeguard positions, though, are they? That you have
Correct. You mean at the lake or just in general?
in general?
In general, no. We'd love to have non-traditional people, I guess, at the parks or in any of our positions. So parkies, lifeguards, concession admission people is what our challenges are going to be coming up here in the next couple of months.
Rex, with regards to lifeguards, are we competitive enough with Green Bay's? I see they're implementing new incentives and so forth to attract lifeguards.
Several places are doing that, and that's what we're working on right now.
Okay.
We're working to try and be more competitive. catalogs coming out, a lot of registrations coming up. The majority, if not all, of the winter tree removals from Trios have been done for the contract. That's the contract for the ash removals that were on the east side of Highway 41. Tim's on vacation this week, and I know one of his tasks coming out of the gate here in the next month or two is to talk with Trios and see if they're willing to extend the contract that they've got at their current rate to do the west side. If they're willing to do that, the way the contract is written is they have the option of doing that, taking that, and then at that rate that was given for the east side of 41, and continuing on. If they feel that they didn't make enough money and want more money, then we would need to rebid that out. Same process that we did for the east side. The good thing is it's already basically written. It just needs to be published out there and new bids taken for that work.
Rex, can I ask a question on tree removals? Are they blue dotted, the ones that are planning to come out this year, like in my neck of the woods in the west side? Do they have blue dots on them? Because people have been asking me, there's some blue, there's some red, there's some orange, there's,
Sue's shaking her head, yes. I know that the pink dots generally, in general, means that they're going to just go. I can't remember if Tim added in the blue, I'm trying to remember.
Well, Tim initially, I believe, had the EAB marked in pink, but there was some confusion between this, just the standard removal markings of orange.
Yep,
So he
So-
switched then to the blue.
the blue,
for the
that's
EAB.
what it was, yep.
Yeah.
He explained it, if you will go back and watch the tree board, he did explain it in the beginning of that, so.
Okay.
So the Trios removal, the money that we're bonding for, those companies, typically, it's the ash trees that are being removed as part of that bonding. And then the pink ones / orange ones, whatever color spectrum that is, those are being typically removed by our own crews. I know Public Works did a lot of removals with us this winter, so we appreciate their help. Kind of separating them out, different projects. A lot of the other removals, the pink and orange ones may be like the maple trees that have root girdling, some of the oak trees may be hollow. There's some oak wilt and some issues that have happened over at Clipstein Park due to excessive water being in Clipstein that have caused some problems over there. So those have all been done in-house, those removals. That's really about it. I mean, there's a lot of different information, bullet points on there. I guess I tried to hit some of the highlights. Pool's been going great. The scoreboard computer took a little bit of a dive a few weeks ago, right before the conference meet, which was awesome. But they got through it. Mel's getting better and better at cobbling that together. We just ordered a new computer for the Colorado Timing System scoreboard, which is being installed probably within a week or two. So a lot of big meets. The Y just wound up with a giant meet last weekend that they finished up and went really well. We had sectionals held there. That went very well. It's nice to have a facility like that we can host large meets and, quite honestly, draw quite a few people from out of town into our community.
Any
Thoughts?
word on how registration is going for the rummage sale?
I'll let Sue answer
I
that.
didn't hear the question. For a
Any
while.
word on how the registration is going for the rummage sale?
It's coming along nicely, actually. It's been busy this week. I don't have a count right now.
No.
I would say we're on pace.
I need to know my competition.
I'll let you know.
Yeah. Give it a try for the first time and see what happens.
I will say literally half the people sign up the last 3 days of registration. Like if we have 130 rummage sale sites, there'll be 50 or 60 that come in like 3 days. Oh my gosh, I need to get this in.
Yeah.
And a few after the deadline as well. You'll get a lot of people, Heidi, I'll tell you that.
Just get my washing machine out of my garage. I got a washing machine, a dryer, and a dishwasher in there. Get it out. Use the appliance mark in there.
The things we say.
So Heidi, what was your address again?
Why, you need a washing machine?
I'm good, thanks.
I got one.
I'm good, I'm all right.
I know a guy, Rex.
We've got one.
My Christmas tree down to make room for my wash machine in the garage.
What's that?
I took my garage Christmas tree down to make room for my wash machine.
Any other questions?
No? With that, items for next agenda.
Rex, maybe an update on the housing development plans for the old golf course, Highland Ridge, and impact for any park? Anything on that for next agenda?
For the new potential park?
Right.
I can tell you, there's no action that can be taken on it, but I can say that I have not been informed of any further movement in that area yet, for us to need to
That's fine.
work on it. Our community development director knows that there potentially needs to be lands for a secondary park to take the pressure off of Sand Acres Park if
Right.
additional housing goes in. And when he would meet with that developer, I'm assuming I would be let known so I could, we could start planning and have some kind of plan of action on that land donation or however that works or comes about. There's a couple ways to get that land.
But essentially, there's been no significant movement in that area yet?
No.
Okay.
Do we have to get anything in the park comprehensive plan, just a general statement of looking in there, or not? Is that important, or is there something in the plan already that does state that?
I'll take a look, Tracy.
Okay. Because if we're working with a developer, excuse me,
I want to say there is, but
okay, I couldn't remember.
I'll take a look.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else anybody wants put on or something looked at? No? We're good? All right, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
You're quick.
I'll second.
A motion and a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Mark wants to hang out.
Motion passes. We are adjourned.
Thanks, everyone.
This conference is no longer being recorded.